So you're looking for a new reptile and you're on a budget. What is it that you can afford? What is the cheapest reptile that would make a good pet for you? Well, today, let's go over the top 5 cheapest reptiles and why you might not want to buy one. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles, stick around. One thing to make abundantly clear before we even start. I am not saying that you should go out and buy the cheapest reptile. In fact, I'm saying very much the opposite. A lot of the times, cheap reptiles aren't the best reptiles at all, for a number of reasons. And we're going to go over those reasons. So this was what you should buy. A lot of this is basically, you'll see these all over the place for $5. Don't do it, but let's just start off. Number 5, Chinese water dragons. You're going to see these guys, they're not the cheapest, but you'll see them all the time for like $25 at PetSmart and Petco, which you probably shouldn't buy reptiles from anyway. If you want to see a whole video about why, put it in the comments section below. I'll happily make it. And to be honest, Chinese water dragons aren't terrible pets, not for everybody, but if you're someone who's getting into reptiles, which is why you're looking for a cheap reptile, normally if you're looking for something cheap, you're pretty new to the hobby, right? Because you don't realize yet that reptiles aren't really that cheap in the long run, which is fine. That's cool. Here's why a Chinese water dragon probably isn't the best choice. They need quite a bit of space, and a lot of that space needs to be water. And Chinese water dragons, you might buy them for $25, but to set them up as an adult might cost you $200 or $300, right? Or if you're in Canada, like I am, where everything is way more expensive, $500 or $600. By the time you get yourself a 100+ gallon enclosure that has water and land areas and your UVB light and your basking bulb and your substrate and a little bit of height for them, by the time it's all said and done, you're into it for several $100. So when you see that cute little baby Chinese water dragon sitting in that little a sad excuse for an enclosure basically at a PetSmart, or even if it's from a really great breeder, someone like an Alex's Agamid, something like that. Even if it's from a great breeder like that, at the end of the day, it's going to cost you more money than you are probably willing to spend to set up a cheap baby Chinese water dragon. Like, do I have to hammer this home anymore? The difficulty is another thing. If you want something, if you want a lizard that is semi-aquatic, that's what you want, and you're willing to put in the work and everything that it takes, there's a video here all about them, a Chinese water dragon is actually a great choice. But if you're someone who just wants something that's inexpensive, no. The difficulty is a little bit more than most people can handle. The water parameters is one thing. I talk about this in all the axolotl videos. Taking care of water is kind of a challenge. It's definitely more of a challenge than taking care of dry substrate, for example. So there is something more to it because you have to worry about dry substrate and water. And anyway, you get the point. Chinese water dragons are awesome, but not if you want something that's cheap. Number 4, red ear sliders. Now, I know what you're thinking, these things are so cute, I see them all the time, I saw them at the flea market last Sunday. Maybe. That is not super far-fetched. Red ear sliders are everywhere. Now, there's a few things that you might know about them. One, they start off small and get pretty darn big. These things are going to get much larger than these little babies, and they're going to need a big, big water receptacle. And when I say big, big, I just mean bigger than anything that you're going to buy at a PetSmart or Petco or whatever place you go and buy. Even so, even if you go to a reptile store, if you buy something big enough for a red ear slider, it's not going to be cheap. In fact, a lot of people, what they do is they buy like stock tanks from some place that sells stock tanks, and that's what they use because they do need something bigger than most commercial fish tanks that you would buy. Number 2, they're invasive. So a lot of people, they go and buy this $5. I saw them on a website. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to give anyone a bad reputation. I've never bought from this website before. $6. Red ear sliders are $6. And then you can get them shipped to you or go pick them up. This is ridiculous. So basically what this means is they're kind of a throwaway pet for someone who isn't serious. Because what is $6, right? No matter where you live, that's less than an hour's worth of work. So then you go, you buy your red ear slider and you put it in this little tiny 10-gallon tank that you bought for $10 on one of those $1 per gallon type of sales things that they do, right? And then you bring it home and the UVB bulb, it burns out right away and you don't get it replaced because why would you? It's going to cost you $30 when the whole setup so far has cost you less than $20. So why would you do that? Turtle gets metabolic bone disease, dies pretty darn quick, or at least has really a lot of problems that someone else is going to have to take care of when you eventually give it away, or you do something super irresponsible and you let it go in the wild, which is how they're invasive in the first place. Now, I'm painting a pretty terrible picture here, and this probably isn't you. If you are taking the time to watch this video, what I'm describing is not you. You're probably going to be a great reptile keeper. But those things happen. And that's why I think that we should stop buying these things. Stop. If you want to ride your slider, they're great pets. They can be great pets. You guys know I've got a yellow belly slider. This is Buggy. Buggy's amazing. And as you see, Buggy has not a ton of space. We are going to give her an upgrade. By the way, if you're watching this channel on a regular basis, we're done with this. This is the last video where you're going to see this stuff behind me. We're moving. Today, as you're watching this, Thursday. I'm probably in a U-Haul right now. So Buggy will be getting, like I said, a stock tank basically, or whatever upgrade. I don't know if I've said that yet on the channel, but that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give Buggy and Mappy, who is a Mississippi map turtle, which is kind of a better option, by the way. If you want a turtle, you should get something that's a little bit smaller. Musk turtles stay small. Mississippi map turtles, the males can stay small, so it's up to you. But either way, just the reason that I have them on the list is you can buy it for $6. They get super big. You need a UVB light, you need to change that, which isn't a huge expense, but $30 twice a year or something along those lines. Link in the description if you want to buy a UVB light. And then testing the water, it's, in my guess, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you are going out and spending $6, impulse or not, on an animal, you're probably not willing to put in tons of time. And turtles, they sometimes take quite a bit of time. So, if you're looking for something cheap, rider sliders aren't that. Keep moving on. Number 3, Savannah monitors. Yeah, you're not surprised at all. If you've been a subscriber, if you've watched these videos before, you know that I don't think too highly of Savannah monitors. Now, they're not terrible, they're not demons. I make jokes all the time and people get upset that I call them basically the devils of the reptile world. It's not the case. The reason that I think that these are a lot of the times an impulse buy and then given up quite quickly is their care requirement is actually pretty difficult. And they're kind of hard to tame down. And I know a lot of you in the comment section kind of ripped on me before, saying, oh, mine is a sweetheart. Well, that might be the case, but also some people's bearded dragons don't do this, and they're crazy. So each is an individual, but from my experience, I've really never come into contact with a Savannah monitor that is as placid as a bearded dragon. So if that's something that you want, if you want a really large, impressive lizard, I mean, there are other options. Tegus, for example, or red Ackies, something like that, right? Thanks, Professor Hurt, for the footage there. So I don't think this is the greatest option. And they also need a really high basking spot. A lot of the times people don't want to spend however much hydro or electricity is in your area for 3 basking bulbs. A lot of the times it takes like 3 basking bulbs to get to 125 degrees, or there's varying opinions on how hot you need it, but it needs to be really hot, really hot. You need a ton of substrate, a big space. So these little tiny guys that you can find for 25 bucks at your Reptile Expo or your PetSmart, which is, dude, PetSmart, stop selling these things. They're not for these Joe Blows average people who walk in, oh, this is cute, I'll buy one of these. Savannah monitors are a serious thing. If you want a Savannah monitor, do your research and go support a local breeder. Because the other thing is, with Savannah monitors, like red ear sliders, you might be getting some that was just poached out of the wild. You don't want that. You don't want a Savannah monitor that was just imported into here from Africa where they come from, or even if it was farm raised, because a lot of the times they have parasites. If you spend $25 on an animal, are you willing then to go to a vet? And I'm not sure what fecals cost in your area, fecal tests at a vet, plus whatever the drugs are, the antibiotics are that you need. It's going to be probably more than $100. I know here, for example, in Southern Ontario, Canada, it's going to cost several $100s for this, for your $25 animal. So Savannah monitors probably aren't for you, if that's what you want, if you want a cheap pet. There is nothing at all, except for the price tag of the actual animal, cheap about a Savannah monitor. Holy cow, these things get expensive very quickly. And also they don't stay cute and cuddly. I mean, they're always really cool looking. They look prehistoric like dinosaurs, but I call them Satan for a reason. They sometimes have bad attitudes. They will pee and poop all over you, and they are not afraid to use their teeth and death roll. So, again, not a cheap animal. Number 2, and you had to see this one coming, green iguanas. I talk about green iguanas so often. I talk about them so often, and unlike all the other species that people have varying opinions, I don't think anyone's ever really put in the comment section, you know what, Adam, you're wrong. Green iguanas are great for everybody. Because they're not. and everybody knows it, but especially if you're someone who's like my age, right? If you're in your late 20s, early 30s, or maybe even a little bit older than that, and you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you probably saw these guys in every pet store. These were 20 bucks, sometimes $10 for a green iguana, little cute little guy, right? Well, guess what? A 5-foot green iguana is in your future. And right around 2 years old, they go through this puberty stage where they get real grumpy. And when they get real grumpy, they've got really serious teeth. And if you want really serious teeth, you might also get a really serious medical bill. Unless you live in Canada. But then, you get a real serious 8-hour wait in the emergency room to get stitches from your green iguana. So, no bueno, no matter how you look at it. Green iguanas are no fun. Well, that's not true. Green iguanas are pretty cool, especially if you get a really cool tamed down one. But it takes a lot of effort. And they are big, and they can be dangerous, not to your life, but just taking chunks out of you. And they got serious claws, and a lot of the times they've got bad attitudes. I say it twice because it's true. And of all the people I know who have iguanas, I don't know very many of them that get one and then think, this is awesome, I want another one. Y'all got any more of them iguanas? Almost nobody. Seriously. Now, this is not true for everybody. Iguanas, I'm not trying to really crap on them.
Try it out.
I think iguanas are fantastic animals if you know what you're getting into. If you have a giant space, if you have the right parameters in your living area, because you're not going to be able to buy a tank. You're going to have to make something or buy something from someone who made it for you for an iguana. So if you want that, or if you are someone who makes these really cool like half rooms where you buy like a stand-up shower and put it and outfit it and there's your iguana enclosure, I've seen that before, that's really cool, then these things might actually make great pets. But the reason I put them on this list, and I'm going so hard in the paint on the very beginning of this about how they're not good pets and they're not cheap pets, is because they're not cheap pets. That's the whole idea of the video. If you buy something that's $10 or $20 or $30, or you get, buy one for 40 bucks for whatever reason, I promise you, you're going to spend 20, 30, 40 times that in the first year taking care of these guys. Never mind, you might be spending 10 times that much just to set it up. For sure, more than 100 bucks just to set it up. So, yeah, they're not cheap. I think you get the point, right? Like, we're going to go move on to number 1 now, but cheap reptiles are not cheap. Does that make sense? Number 1, anything that is poached. So, not one individual reptile or species here. Anything that is poached from the wild. And what does poached mean? It means that you took it without a license, right? So even if you, and that's the thing too, is maybe I should change this. Because even if you, in Ontario, have a small game license, which would allow you to take garter snakes from the wild, well, no, because you can't then sell them. Anything that is poached and sold illegally. Holy cow, get to the point, Adam. What does this mean? If someone on Craigslist or Kijiji, wherever you are, whatever your classified site is, takes a bunch of garter snakes from the wild, takes a red ear slider from the wild, snapping turtles, believe it or not, I've seen this before, and then they post them and they sell them, that person is an awful person. Do not buy from this person. They're damaging the ecosystem, for one. I don't care if they have a license to take however many garter snakes they want. Don't do that. Do not do that. And also, they're not going to be in great health, most likely. I mean, maybe you got a diamond in the rough, but a lot of the times, if you go and you take something that was taken from the wild, and this can actually include, if we want to really lump a lot of things together, farm-raised stuff, and also things that are like imported, right? Like Savannah monitors, which we already talked about. Because if you take something from the wild that's never had vet treatment, something that was born and you don't know what has happened to it, that it has probably eaten feces because it's been in these bins, just caked full of feces and other animals, right? This is a disgusting picture, but I'm trying to make a point here.
Thank God I already ate before I did this, huh?
They're gonna have parasites, likely. And even if they don't have parasites, it's bad for the environment. The person that you got them from, even if they weren't directly the one who took them from the bush, is doing something terrible, and that is an animal that should be still in the wild. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, Adam, where do you think you get ball pythons from? Those things were taken from the wild. Yes, I know. But what I'm talking about is if there is no captive breeding, and the only way to sustain the need for these animals is to continue to take them from the wild. That is bad. If you take, 10 of something, 10 Butler's garter snakes from the wild, and you create a breeding program, and from that you make thousands of captive animals. Well, whatever. You took 10 from the wild. They're not an endangered species at all. Just as this example, Butler garter snakes in my area, southern Ontario, like the big region of southern Ontario, part of the world, they're not endangered. So if you take 10, it's not going to be a big deal, right? And I'm not talking about taking 10 females that are about to pop out. I'm talking about taking 10 individuals. Well, now you can sustain the need, the demand for these animals without taking any more. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, if you see someone on Craigslist or Kijiji, which I did with this exact example with garter snakes, that they took a mother and all of a sudden now they get 26, don't buy from that person. Do not buy from that person. I got pretty worked up in this one. At the end of the day, buy whatever you want. As long as you're giving a great life to whatever it is that you buy, and you know what you're getting yourself into, and you have the money, and you have the time and the will to make these animals have the best life you possibly can, there is no bad reptile, for the most part. There is no bad reptile. I'm just saying that these cheap reptiles are not cheap. That's it. Thanks for watching. I got this idea out of the comment section. Actually, I got this out of the Discord. Grab the link down below. You can join the Discord. It's free. We talk about reptiles. There's memes, all sorts of stuff. So if you like that sort of thing, go down there. One of our great members, Anwar, I appreciate it, man. You've given so many great ideas. It was his idea. So add your idea in the Discord comment section, whatever. Every idea is yours. I make your ideas into videos. And as always, thank you so much to the Patreon supporters. You guys are freaking awesome. You get to see videos early, a little bit of extra stuff. You're going to get to see this week, I'm going to post a video or a picture of the new reptile room that we're making and the new background for the office. You guys pick the color we're going to paint tomorrow. This is a long intro. I plugged everything. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you on Monday.